Hey y'all, in today's video we're coming to you with part 3 of the ethics complaint, and I'm bringing my receipts. So here we are in part 3 of this ethics investigation, and I know it's been a lot and all the legal jargon can get a little bit much at times, and it has been a lot, and it's been ongoing for quite a while. So originally the complaint had 9 allegations in it, and immediately they have taken 6 of these allegations and dismissed them, thrown them out. We're not even looking at them anymore. 3 of them they have said, let's look into this further. We need to do further investigation on this. So I get a letter in, I don't know if this was even the one in January. I think actually they sent an investigator down sometime in December, if I remember correctly, to contact all the different players that they wanted to talk to, the witnesses, to get different statements so they could do a better, more thorough investigation. So they send down the investigator from Tallahassee, and I think this is the day that Mr. Meeks tried to barge into the town hall thinking he's got some kind of pull to do whatever he wants, and that's pretty much his town hall and all these other things. So they do an investigation. The investigator meets with a bunch of different people to talk over what happened, and then I get the report back from his investigation where he has also spoken to John Cook, and we get his summary of all these different things. So I'm going to read through. I'll try to be quicker in my readings and get us through this so we don't have so many parts. But let's see. So we're doing the report of investigation, and they're talking about the whole basis that Mr. Cook alleges me to violating the code of ethics, and the complaint alleges that after being elected, I invited my best friend to the town and allowed him to access the private files. The complaint claims that he is also my employer and I work on his property when he's in Ohio, and that he's bringing a lawsuit against the town. I hired 2 of my best friend's employees to work for the town hall, and also that I'm attempting to benefit my best friend who has brought the lawsuit against the town. And the executive director of the Commission on Ethics noted that based upon the information provided in the complaint, the above referenced allegations were sufficient to warrant a preliminary investigation. So off of those couple of complaints, they're going to investigate further. So the complainant, which is John Cook, stated by telephone that he's lived in Otter Creek for 2 years. He first met me, the respondent, when he moved to Otter Creek and lived in my campground while his property was being cleared. I was elected mayor, and that I invited Jeremy Hales to come into the town's office, access the records, and John Cook acknowledged that he has no actual proof that Mr. Hales came into the town office to view any files. He recalled that during a town meeting, Vice Mayor Zim Pageant made a statement that the council planned to schedule a time for persons to come and view the records, and that Mr. Hales then asked if he could be one of those people to come in and view. Mr. Cook maintains that Therese Granger and Mr. Hales are business partners, but that they keep their business relationship private, and that relationship is not public knowledge. John Cook also said that he believes that Therese Granger and Mr. Hales purchased property together next to the Otter Creek Town Hall so that they could grow my campground business and eventually take over Town Hall to bankrupt the town. And that has been seriously debunked because the person who does own the property next to Town Hall has nothing to do with me. It's not enough land to make my campground bigger, nor is it even next to my campground. So how would that make any sense? I mean, some of these things are just crazy. Now, the next one says that the property appraiser, they looked online and they see that, as I said, none of this is true because our names are not on this property. So there's no indication that me and Jeremy own any property together because let's debunk it. We don't. And that Mr. Cook stated that I hired Deanna West as the interim clerk because she was competent with computers. He stated that she was an employee of Mr. Hales and also claims that Ms. West allowed Mr. Hales into the town's office to view the private files. Although, as previously stated, Mr. Cook has no proof that Hales actually came to the office and viewed any files. The complainant, Mr. Cook, said that the town council members then soon after hired Belinda Standridge to perform the clerk duties. He stated that Belinda is also an employee of Mr. Hales and feeds his animals when he's out of town. During the telephone interview with Mr. Cook, the investigator reviewed and read for the complainant the minutes of the Town of Otter Creek special meeting held on June 5th. During the discussion pertaining to nominations for the position of the interim town clerk, the minutes reflected, that Mr. Pageant nominated Ms. West in a temporary situation to act as the interim clerk. And that was based on her previous experience. And the emergency placement of Deanna West while the council worked to place an ad for the employment would be just temporary while they place the ad and review and discuss to permanently appoint a clerk. Council member Gail Lamb seconded the motion and the vote was in favor 5-0 unanimous. So they talked about the vote for Miss West to be hired, and he is saying that Mr. Hales requested that I bring her into the table for discussion, and the minutes don't reflect that. And it goes on in his report with the different people that he has interviewed. He asked Mr. Hales about his employees and who he employs. And it also talks about his lawsuit and when his lawsuit was filed. And it does say that, Jeremy says the same thing, that we are friends, but I have never worked for him. And that Belinda has never worked for him. And it talks about Mr. Warren being the town attorney when all of this started and how the lawsuit was filed against the town before I was even on the board. And it was the previous administration's lack of cooperation as to why this lawsuit was filed. And that the new attorney, Megan, has recently fulfilled the request for some of the things in the lawsuit, I did not provide those items to him. The lawyers were providing them to him, because that's how it works when you file a lawsuit. Lawyers talk to the lawyers, and everything gets handled that way. And basically how public records are public records, and this is the transparency that is supposed to happen. You're supposed to provide public records. And that he never went into the town office to view any town records. Again, he got his records from the lawyer, not from me. Megan Logan, the lawyer, came into the town hall. She accessed the records and gave them to Mr. Hale's attorney. So Mr. Hale's never asked myself or anybody else on the board to hire anybody. Ms. West was nominated by Zim Pageant. She is an independent contractor. Everybody knows this. She also runs his properties, does his eBay, and Belinda, again, has never worked for him and never has been an employee of his in any fashion. They also interviewed Deanna, and she stated the same thing. She's an independent contractor. There was nothing new there. And she again reiterated when she came into the office how there was papers and boxes of papers everywhere. Everything was completely disorganized. If you looked into one box, there was 10 different subjects in a box with a span of 20 years. It was completely confusing. To be honest, I don't know how Mary was able to get anything done with the way the filings were. It was a complete mess. So it's no wonder there was lawsuits, and no wonder she couldn't provide anything. She was in over her head. So she absolutely needed help. So it just goes on to say everyone that they interviewed Belinda, and she again stated that she doesn't work for Jeremy, and that Mr. Hales never came in to view any documents. These are known facts. If you look through the videos, everybody saw that everybody was invited to look at public documents to inspect during town hall hours. There was nothing behind the scenes going on. So they interviewed Mr. Warm by telephone, and he just stated that he was the former attorney, that he was the attorney on file when the lawsuit was started by Mr. Hales, and that he really didn't provide the documents to Jeremy. He just let him know that it would cost him however many dollars, and that the costs would be high to get the documents because it's extensive work to be done, which wouldn't have been extensive had they have been organized. So he basically just informed Jeremy of all the costs associated with this public records request. He really didn't take any action, as he normally did not, and that the town ended up hiring another lawyer to do the litigation, Ms. Logan, and that he was no longer involved. So he really didn't have much to say. He is not known to be that involved, except for writing up invoices of what you owe him. And then they also interviewed Miss Logan, And she just went on again to say that she had provided the files to Mr. Hale's attorney, and she is the one to have done that. And she also let them know all the town minutes reflect the hiring of Miss West and Miss Standridge. Everything is reflected in the minutes. There's nothing going on behind the scenes. It's all on video. And there's transparency on all these happenings. So, and then it has a statement about what I have said, which I've read to you all my statements, so I'm not going to reread all that again. And all the minutes reflect everything that has been stated. So that's the end of the report for the preliminary investigation. And attached, they have minutes of the meeting as Exhibit A to look at, to make everything clear that everything has been laid out and in the minutes. I then was instructed to write yet another statement about it. And all I could do basically was reiterate what I've already stated about everything being public records. There's not private files. Nobody worked for Mr. Hales. It's all the same stuff that we've already heard. They were voted in a majority of vote during board meetings. The previous clerk left a huge mess to be dealt with. There was boxes of unorganized paperwork everywhere. The office had been closed for well over a month, almost into 2 months. And that Miss West assisted in organizing all those boxes of paperwork. And that, John Cook does not even attend the meetings in Otter Creek. He did not attend the meetings while I was mayor. He's wasted a lot of time and resources for the state of Florida making these false claims. That, I've been dealing with the harassment of Mr. Cook and Ms. Preston and their false claims for well over a year. This harassment has increased substantially since she did not get voted onto the board. There's lots of issues with these two and the things they create for everybody. This is a pattern for them in their lives of making false allegations, crying victim. They've done this to multiple people. And that is just the mess that they create for themselves as they move around and do things in their life. So now it's about the end of January. We had the investigator come in December. So now we're at the end of January. I'm getting another letter. And in this letter, it is telling me that they're enclosing a copy of the advocate's recommendation. And again, I can provide yet another written response for consideration at the probable cause hearing, because they're going to have a hearing on this now. And again, I would love to know what the cost of all this is for all these false allegations, because it seems like a lot of time and a lot of trees were used here. So we're looking into this, and they're talking about the probable cause hearing, and that will be March 8th. So I can now write another letter at this time, and this one is the advocate's recommendation, which is dated January 30th. And they've reviewed the complaint and the investigation that was filed in this matter. They read through all the statements from everybody. and now they're writing their recommendation, and how they had determined that the complaint was legally sufficient, and they ordered the preliminary investigation.
What?
And the report from that investigation was just released on January 16th. As I said before, this takes a lot of time. If you remember, this was originally filed in July. And here we are in January.
Wow.
And it was still ongoing. So they talk about how many allegations we are at that we went forward to, and this is allegation 1. And they talk about the law with this allegation, and that their analysis, what it was, how I owned a campground, and all about how Mr. Cook had moved to Otter Creek and lived in the campground when he first moved there, and about how previously the town administration did not provide records to anybody, and that my statement during meetings was that I was going to be more transparent than the previous administration, which would give the town citizens the opportunity to look at public records. Public records. So even reading all this can be a lot. And how, again, how I went through and told everybody they could look at the records, and it goes back and forth with all this again. And how Mr. Hales for 3 years had made public records requests to the previous administration under the mayor at that time, Russell Meeks and Laura Mott, and they handed out no public records. Mary DeGroot, Stephen Warm, they were not doing the things that they should be doing as far as the town hall is concerned, and providing the people with the public records. So it just reiterates all of these things. And it goes on to talk about, just another summary of all the same stuff. So she's still talking about nobody working for him, Mr. Hales, nobody is his employees, and that me and Jeremy don't own any property together, and that in her opinion the evidence does not reflect any violation. Ha! So she's saying that based on all this evidence, she's recommending that the commission find no probable cause. Boy, I'm having a real struggle here. Probable cause. And that now we are moving on to allegation number 2. And where we're talking about using my position to benefit myself or someone else. And the term corrupt, where you are doing things with wrongful intent. And it's talking about what different elements must be proved to substantiate these things. And the analysis of that is that based on the evidence before the commission, she recommends that the commission find no probable cause to believe that I violated Section 112, 3136 of the Florida statutes. Then for the third allegation, it is talking about disclosing information obtained due to her position to secure a personal gain or benefit of another. The analysis of that allegation is that based on the evidence before the commission, that she recommends the commission find no probable cause to believe that respondent violated the statutes there as well. So in summary, it is the recommendation of her that no probable cause to believe there's a violation of any of these three allegations, and
surprise!
That is the recommendation she's putting before the committee. She wrote this on January 30th. So then I was informed there's still this probable cause hearing, and that I could go to Tallahassee if I so choose to attend the hearing, but it's not required that you go. And that would be quite a drive when you've already provided as much information as you possibly could. So I was in contact with them and let them know that I would not be going to that meeting. So they had this hearing on March 8th, and I did not drive there for it, but was in communication with them. And they have sent me the determination of this whole case on March 13th. I got an audio file, which I will play for you right now.
3, 2, 1.
All right, complaint number 23-173. This is item G, in re Teresa Granger. Is there anybody who needs to make a disclosure in this matter? No, Ms. Hadley.
I made a recommendation for all three allegations. I can certainly provide analysis if the commission would like.
Move the applicant's recommendation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that was a very fast clip, so obviously it was very easy to get through. I'm sure this was more or less like the least of things on their plate as to how it even got so far. But the basic summary of that is that was Miss Hadley who had wrote the recommendations. She is the commission advocate who I just read through those recommendations briefly for you before. So, and the committee did not want to hear any further details on her recommendations. They all voted to dismiss this. They threw it out. Everything has been cleared. I do have the receipts for the final determination of the public record report, and it basically tells us here that they find no probable cause, that I use the position to benefit myself or anybody else, and this complaint is dismissed.
Game over.
So all this time has been wasted with this complaint. False allegations brought forward for no reason. So in this clip, I'll play it for you again because I know it's really it's so fast. So in case you want to hear it again or you missed anything, you'll hear this is them during the hearing on their board, and they're asking again if Miss Hadley is asking anyone if they would like her to go further and explain her recommendations in detail. They are saying no, they don't need to hear it again. Then they vote to dismiss it. It's all very quick. I'll play it again for you real quick.
All right, complaint number 23-173. This is item G, in re Teresa Granger. Is there anybody who needs to make a disclosure in this matter? No, Ms. Hadley.
I made a recommendation for all three allegations. I can certainly provide analysis if the commission would like.
Move the applicant's recommendation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So there we go again with the clip. And I know it's still hard to process because it was so fast, but that just shows you how low they wanted to dig into it. And that's it. dismissed, thrown out. That's it. So, debunked for all this. And that's what happens with false allegations. I wish people would take the time and focus their energies on important things. And in the next video, we're going to discuss the second complaint that Mr. Cook has filed. And do you want to know what that one's about? Stay tuned.